Hey everybody, and welcome to BK's Bullets. Today we're going to be doing a Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 2 review coming up next. Hey everybody, and welcome back. This is going to be a Marvel Studios Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 2 review. Spoilers alerted. I'm trying not to go into a whole bunch of detail, just a short, quick, general thoughts about the film. But if you haven't seen the movie already, just click that Save for Later button and come back to us when you have seen it. Hope everybody enjoyed their free comic book day weekend. I know I was able to go out Saturday afternoon and get some free books. I got Secret Empire, Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles, and the Valiant X-O Man-O-War, and then the Image, I Hate Image by Scotty Young. And then I picked up two for my little girl. I picked up the DC Superheroes book and the Barbie book. So she's enjoying those, just looking at the pages. She's looking at the toy ads, and that's what she's most excited about. But we are here today to talk about Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 2. This is a long, long line of Marvel movies that have come down the pike. So Marvel seems to be, each year, the comic book company to put out a film on the first weekend of May to coincide with Free Comic Book Day. I think this goes back almost to 2001, 2002, when the first Spider-Man Sam Raimi film came out, all those years ago. So that's kind of cool. I don't know if any other movie studio is going to kind of usurp this tradition. I think last year Batman v Superman had positioned itself to open the same weekend as Civil War, which was that first weekend in May. Fortunately for Batman, Batman bluffed and moved back 3 months, which I think was a smart decision based on how that movie turned out. I think Marvel's going to own this Free Comic Book Day movie weekend space for quite a long time. So, Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 2. I enjoyed it a lot. It wasn't my favorite Marvel movie, but it definitely had its moments. Some pure highlights for me. I thought Drax was even more fleshed out. I know there are some people who don't like him or don't like Dave Bautista, but I think he is essential to this franchise. Since Drax in the comics is more of just a hard bargain, beat-em-up character and things like that, Dave Bautista acting out the attitude for Drax that James Gunn and the writers have put together for this version of him is really, I think, a choice pick. I think a lot of times Dave Bautista is used in films, he doesn't really get to say anything. I remember watching first 15 or 30 minutes of Spectre. I couldn't make it past that, so I never got to Dave Bautista, but I've seen him in some other things where he doesn't talk at all. So I don't know if he talks in that movie at all, but I think he's very well used in the Guardians movie, so I'm glad for him. Baby Groot, not quite a standout, but he was very, very funny. I'm surprised that they bothered to pay Vin Diesel for this movie. You know, I think they could have reused the stuff from the last film, chopped it up, edited it. I mean, it was all pitched very high anyway to be that young Groot voice. So that was interesting that he still got a credit and things like that. I don't know why you'd be interested in doing this voice at all. I think he really wanted to be Black Bolt, but we know how that turned out. I really liked the movie because I think what it did was it gave us a nice new character in Kurt Russell playing Ego the Living Planet. Now, when this was announced, and they were trying to keep it a secret for a while, they just said, you know, Kurt Russell is Star-Lord's dad, or he's playing Star-Lord's dad, and they never really gave his name up until a few months ago. I was kind of wondering, because Ego the Living Planet in the comic books is kind of like Mogo from the Green Lantern universe, except with a face. Or, if you're a Transformers fan, he's more like, I think the name is Unicron from that universe. He's just a big purple planet with angry eyes and an angry face. Hell, I don't even know if he has a mustache, but sometimes it looks like Ego has a mustache, which is kind of weird. But assuming he was created in the 70s, that's probably, you know, standard facial hair for the time. Speaking of facial hair, what the hell is up with Star-Lord's facial hair? He's got the weird 70s, like, porn stash going on. He's got the sideburns, and then instead of shaving his, you know, bottom half of his face, it looks like he's trying to grow in a beard, or trying not to. It was a little strange, and I kept looking at it like, this just looks so inconsistent. Like, if you're going to go for just the mustache, just make him shave every day, you know? Make it consistent. Or if you're going to go for a beard, then give him a beard. There aren't many Marvel characters with full beards. I'm a full bearded man. I like it. Tony Stark's got his thing going on. Doctor Strange now has his thing going on. Thor has a full beard, so I think there's more room for some interesting facial hair, but maybe Chris Pratt can't grow it. I don't know. It's just, I guess it's to signify that he's stuck in the 70s, that Chris Pratt thinks, or, he was abducted in the 80s, but he's stuck in those 2 decades, and maybe it's there to signify that his mental image of himself, he would think he would look cool with that facial hair. Some shots it looks fine, other shots it looks totally goofy and terrible. So hopefully, well, I was going to say hopefully in Infinity War that's different, but we've seen the on-set footage and he's got the same facial hair in that one. At least the Iron Man movies managed to change up Tony Stark's facial hair from film to film a little bit so that you could tell it was a different Tony Stark. And also his hair, Tony Stark's hair too, changes from film to film. I think with most movies you can see that are in these franchises and stuff like that. But yeah, I don't know if they're going to do anything about that. Another standout I thought in this film was Nebula. She was much, much better this film than the first film. I guess because you don't have to introduce her, you didn't have to talk about who her father was, that she's sister with Gamora. Everybody was kind of supposed to come into this film knowing all that stuff. And that's usually a general rule for sequels if they are better than the first films in their series, because they don't have to do any introduction, they don't have to do a lot of exposition, they don't have to set up the characters or the relationships. You can just dive in and get that more character development, which I think was the theme of this movie. There was a lot of character development. Star-Lord got developed. Gamora kind of, not really. She didn't have much to do. Nebula got all of the attention in this film, I think. Deservingly so. Karen Gillan did a great job. She looked great. And I really thought her, I really felt for her menace when she was menacing other people. And then talking about the story, what Thanos did to her, when she's being raised with Gamora, really, really got me. So that was an interesting take on Nebula and why she's the cybernetic, version of herself in this film series. Rocket Raccoon in this film, take him or leave him. I never really liked Rocket Raccoon. He's there, but I think he's there to make you like Groot, because Groot is a really, really silly character. So Rocket Raccoon is just Groot's voice, and he's kind of a jerk. I never really identified with him in the last movie, and not really in this movie either. A lot of people like Bradley Cooper's performance. I can take it or leave it, just like the Rocket Raccoon character. I just think he's not doing that much. He sounds like, he's gruffing his voice up a little bit, but it kind of sounds half-assed to me, to be honest. So that's why I'm not a big Bradley Cooper Rocket Raccoon fan. Yondu in this film was by far, I think, the biggest standout for me other than Drax. I mean, obviously, he has a great big arc in this film, narratively, with him getting the Ravagers turning on him and him redeeming himself by the end of the movie. That line to Star-Lord about, who's your daddy kind of thing, really touching. I was really sad to see him go, I was hoping that he would stick around for a third film, especially since all the images you saw him walking around with the bigger fin on his forehead, more true to the comics. They made a big deal when Sylvester Stallone was announced to be in the movie, and then on the Adam Carolla podcast, James Gunn said that Michael Rosenbaum of Smallville fame, Lex Luthor, was in the film, and next to Stallone, he was supposed to be one of Stallone's right-hand guys. He wasn't in the movie. I mean, maybe he was on set, but I think he was the guy that they chose to ice up and make the Crystal Man or whatever. And yet again, just another thing of James Gunn sticking an actor in the movie and saying, oh, he's in the film, similar to Nathan Fillion in the last one, and then covering him in makeup. Nathan Fillion in the last movie was the big blue guy in the prison that was fighting with Rocket and Gamora and all those guys, but he was covered in makeup or he was covered by CGI. I think the same thing happened to Michael Rosenbaum. Honestly, if you're a friend of James Gunn's and he says, I'm going to put you in my film, and you're excited because you think you're going to get exposure, I would be very clear, if you're doing a Guardians of the Galaxy part, about what is going to happen to you, because I feel like, Michael Rosenbaum got screwed out of this. He's been on TV for a while. He had a show that just ended but I think it was on for like 3 or 4 seasons. I don't know what network it was on. He was a pastor or something like that, or a priest, one of those weird things. So I was hoping he was due for a comeback, and people might see him in this film and remember him. I mean, we certainly saw Michelle Yeoh, we saw Ving Rhames, you know, as other Ravager captains and things like that, Sylvester Stallone. So why did Michael Rosenbaum have to get the shaft? I mean, maybe he was just happy to be in it at all. I can't really tell. I was disappointed in that. It was something I was looking forward to, and seeing this actor who I grew up on watching Smallville move into something else and hopefully get another kickstart to his career, because I thought he was great on Smallville. So let's talk about Kurt Russell again. I like the character. I like the world, the living planet. I thought all the porcelain history stuff that they did was really cool, really creepy looking too, and just the way that it was like sliding around, and sometimes it was moving and sometimes it wasn't, was cool. It kind of did feel like he was threatening, which is a change for Marvel movies. I saw some article. I didn't read the article because I wanted to go in cold before I watched the movie. But they were talking about maybe this solves Marvel's villain problem. I don't think it does, based off that movie, because he's not coming back. You know, they didn't save him for another day. This was a one-off kind of thing. He's not coming back. Marvel really needs to step up their villains, at least that they're going to decide to keep around. You know, we have Loki. We had the Winter Soldier. He's not a villain anymore. You know, I'm really iffy on Thanos and how he's going to be in the next film. So, but Kurt Russell, all in all, was Kurt Russell. He was super cool. You wanted to be his son. You wanted to hang out with him. His hair looked just like it was right out of the 70s, which was probably a thing. And the effects at the beginning of the film with young Kurt Russell looked really, really good. Way better than the young Michael Douglas effects in the Ant-Man intro from 2 years ago. So they've come a long way in that, and I think, you know, this is another step up from like from the young Tony Stark we saw in Civil War last year. So Kurt Russell, just all around entertaining. I like the idea of him needing Star-Lord to help him take over the galaxy, to restart everything. I just didn't think that it was going to be, it's kind of ho-hum at the end, because there wasn't, you know, there was no final battle. They were battling the Sovereign, the gold guys and stuff like that. And I guess you didn't really want to battle Kurt Russell for an entire 20 minutes. That's fine, I understood it. I still enjoyed that part of the movie. It just felt weird that he was the central conflict, but it wasn't until like the very, you know, close to the end of the movie, before we got to the final battle, that we found out what he actually wanted to do, which is kind of strange for a Marvel movie. So I'm not sure how I feel about that yet. Maybe on a second viewing it'll become clearer, but you know, I think it's pretty good. What I did clap in the theater about, and I clapped like a silly seal, I was like this, was the Stan Lee cameo with him and all the Watchers. I thought that was great, right in the middle of the movie as Rocket and those guys were jumping over to Ego's planet. They jumped through this area and you saw Stan Lee. I thought that was hilarious. I think nobody else got it except me in my screening, but I certainly enjoyed it. And the after the credits sequence, as like, you know, the Watchers walking away because Stan's probably telling the same story 20 times, which I thought was entertaining. But I like the movie. I would give it a good, you know, 3.5 to a 4 out of 5. But I think anything negative I could say about this movie would really be nitpicking. So I'm trying not to say anything negative about it at all, just because I don't want to nitpick it. It was a really entertaining movie. I had a fun time. My wife loved it. She likes the Marvel movies except for Doctor Strange. She's not a fan of Benedict Cumberbatch. I don't know why. But yeah, we liked it a lot. So hope you guys enjoyed the film. Hope you guys enjoyed this video. And if you like it, comment, subscribe. Give me a thumbs up below. Anything, any little bit helps. Tell me what you liked about the video. Tell me what you disliked about the video. Give me your thoughts on the film. Am I totally wrong about Rocket Raccoon? Let me know down below, and I will respond to you in the comments. So see you guys very soon.